Hello and welcome to News Now at this time, bringing you stories across Nigeria. I am Tahila Debiobole. Well, first up, President Bola Tinubu has honored Nigeria's fallen heroes and reaffirmed his support for the armed forces as the country marked the Armed Forces Remembrance and Celebration Day. In a statement personally signed on Thursday, Tinubu remembered the brave men and women of the armed forces who sacrificed everything for the nation. Tinubu paid tribute to the families of the fallen heroes, acknowledging their loss and assuring them that the nation will never forget the sacrifices made by their loved ones, while celebrating members of the armed forces still in active service for their discipline, courage and professionalism. Tinubu reaffirmed his commitment to their welfare and dignity. Vice President Kashim Shettima represented President Tinubu in the activities to mark the Armed Forces Remembrance and Celebration Day in Abuja on Thursday. Meanwhile, Adamawa State Governor Abba Moro reaffirmed his administration's support for the armed forces during the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day parade held in Yola. Represented by his deputy, Professor Caleb Tapwa George Farauta, Governor Frintiri inspected a guard of honor and emphasized the pivotal sacrifices made by fallen heroes for the nation's survival, peace and unity. He also commended serving security personnel and pledged continued support for their welfare and that of ex-servicemen and their families. The event, attended by dignitaries and families of fallen heroes, culminated in a solemn wealth-laying ceremony. Highlights of the ceremony included special prayers for the nation, a 3-gun salute, and the release of pigeons symbolizing peace, hope, and prosperity for Nigeria. Worried by the sustained attacks on Benue South communities by armed men, the senator representing Benue South Senatorial District and Senate Minority Leader, Comrade Abba Moro, PhD, on Thursday visited the American Embassy in Abuja to discuss the way forward with a view to ending the carnage and providing support for displaced persons. A statement by his media advisor, Emmanuel Echeofun John, further disclosed that the senator, while expressing his frustration to the political front desk officer of the U.S. Embassy, Cassandra Caraway, said the killings of his constituents had become a recurrent decimal without any visible and deliberate efforts by government at all levels to nip it in the bud. He said his people had fled their ancestral homes and farms and living in pitiable and unhealthy emergency camps. Senator Moro expressed the fierce urgency for the Nigerian and American governments to engage meaningfully to end the carnage in the land. A renowned Islamic cleric, Imam Abubakar Abdullahi, credited with saving hundreds of lives during violent communal clash in Plateau State, has died. Now, Abdullahi of Nagar Village, Barikin Ladi local government area, passed away at the age of 90. His death was confirmed on Friday by his son Saleh Abubakar, who said the respected Islamic leader died on Thursday night at the Plateau Specialist Hospital in Jos after battling a heart-related illness. He was diagnosed with a heart condition despite regular medical checkups. Imam Abubakar rose to national and international prominence in June 2018 during deadly faith-based attacks in Barikin Ladi that affected at least 10 villages. The late Imam is survived by 19 children, 12 sons and 7 daughters. All the 26 lawmakers in the Rivers State House of Assembly who seem to have broken into different camps have reunited and regrouped to pursue the impeachment push against Governor Siminalayi and his deputy Ngozi Odu. The lawmakers stood in the open on Friday morning to address newsmen, declaring a united stand to press on with impeachment of Governor Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu, a professor. The lawmakers read through an address reportedly signed by all the lawmakers, including the 4 that had taken a different stand to call for peaceful resolution of the crisis. This time, all the 26 called for go-ahead in the impeachment move and mandated the Speaker Martins Amawile to see the impeachment move to the end. Join us again for more news stories across Nigeria after the break. With Nigeria currently facing rising insecurity, the United States has approved $413 million, about 587 billion naira for counter-insurgency and security operations in Nigeria and other African countries in 2026 as violence from insurgency and banditry continues spreading across West Africa. The funding is part of the U.S. National Defense Authorization Act for 2026, which President Donald Trump signed into law on December 18, 2025. The money falls under operation and maintenance for the United States Africa Command, known as AFRICOM. The command got the full amount it requested, though the act doesn't break down how much goes to each country or operation. The approval comes as the U.S. steps up military involvement in Nigeria. Elsewhere, the Nigerian Army has called for deeper strategic cooperation with the United States Army to effectively address Nigeria's evolving and multifaceted security challenges. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Wade Shaibu, said the Army seeks to leverage the United States Army's extensive experience in both kinetic and non-kinetic operations to enhance its operational effectiveness. Shaibu made a call while receiving the United States Defense attached to Nigeria. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Samira Moore during a courtesy visit to the Army in the headquarters in Abuja. He advocated expanded avenues of cooperation between armies to strengthen operational effectiveness, institutional capacity, doctrine development, and strategic capability. Meanwhile, the Russian Federation has called for closer ties with the Federal Republic of Nigeria to enable both countries to crack down on the activities of unlawful and criminal elements. The Russian embassy in Nigeria made a call in a statement issued in Abuja over the weekend concerning a report by the media office of Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo on protests in the state. Youth in Edo State had taken to the street protesting against insecurity, especially kidnapping. However, the press secretary to the governor, Patrick Obojele, on Tuesday alleged that a Nigerian citizen residing in Russia was financing riots with the intention of discrediting the Edo State government. Moving on, the European Union Commission has removed Nigeria from its list of high-risk jurisdictions on anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism. The delisting contained in an updated list of high-risk jurisdictions follows decisions taken at the Financial Action Task Force plenaries of June and October 2025. The EU regulation takes effect from 29 January 2026. Now, the EU Commission also confirmed that removal of Burkina Faso, Mali, Mozambique, South Africa, and Tanzania from the EU high-risk list after their successful exit from the ATF lists of jurisdiction under increased monitoring. In issuing seamless movement across borders, the Nigeria Immigration Service on Thursday unveiled and upgraded passport tracking systems designed to improve transparency, accountability, and efficiency in passport acquisition both within and outside the country. The new feature aims to provide applicants with clearer information on the status of their passports, while helping the service curb any irregularities in the application and issuance process. Kemi Nandap, Comptroller General of the NIS, recently warned personnel against engaging in corrupt practices or any misconduct during a conference on anti-corruption at the service's Abuja headquarters. Now, she emphasized that the ongoing reforms in the NIS would be fully implemented and that all installed gadgets and systems across the country would function optimally. Nigeria has committed 838.67 billion naira to science, technology, and innovation, signaling a strategic focus on economic diversification. Now, in the 2026 appropriation bill, Nigeria has committed 838.67 billion naira to science, technology, and innovation, signaling its strategic focus on economic diversification. The largest portion, 745.26 billion naira, is earmarked for capital expenditure to strengthen research infrastructure, tech development, and innovation commercialization. Personnel costs, 85.08 billion naira, is to cover salaries for scientists and researchers with a lean overhead budget of 8.34 billion naira, prioritizing project execution. Now speaking at the launch of a National Economic Outlook report for the new year, Finance Minister Wale Edun said on Thursday that Nigeria has entered a phase of economic consolidation after 2 years of reforms that helped steady inflation, stabilize the currency, and lift investor confidence. Since taking office in 2023, President Bola Tinubu has rolled out Nigeria's most ambitious economic overhaul in decades by ending costly fuel and energy subsidies, twice devaluing the naira currency, and changing the tax system to boost public finances. Now, the measures unleashed Nigeria's worst cost of living crisis in a generation, but set the stage for improving macroeconomic indicators the government says are now taking hold. The country's major workers' union said that Tinubu's reform-driven policies hit its members hard, with inflation eroding incomes and pushing millions of people into financial hardship. Well, Nigeria has issued 7 years satellite permits to Amazon's Open New Tab Cuba system, Israel's NSL-Com's Beetlesat, and Germany-based Satellite IoT services, joining Elon Musk's own SpaceX among operators cleared to expand space-based broadband, telecoms operators said. Now, on the Nigerian Communication Commission said it issued the permit under its Commercial Satellite Communications Guideline, a licensing framework designed to draw investment into the sector. The decision advances the regulator's drive to open Nigeria, Africa's largest telecoms market, to new generation non-geostationary satellite systems, the NCC posted on its website. African giants Egypt and Nigeria will face off on Saturday in the AFCON 2025 third-place playoff at the stadium in Casablanca. Well, that's in sports, coming up after the break. Welcome to sports. Now, African giants Egypt and Nigeria will face off on Saturday in the AFCON 2025 third-place playoff at Stade Mohammed V in Casablanca. Though both teams fell short of reaching the final, pride, momentum, and a place of history remains at stake as the tournament in Morocco nears its conclusion. Already the most successful team in AFCON third-place finishes, Nigeria have claimed the bronze medal 8 times and now stands at the brink of stretching that record further. Victory over Egypt would reinforce the Super Eagles' long-standing reputation for consistency at the continent's flagship tournament. There's a strong historical link between Nigeria and Egypt when it comes to the AFCON bronze medal. While Nigeria leads the chart with 8 third-place finishes, Egypt follow closely with 6. A win for the Pharaohs on Saturday would see them narrow the gap, moving within one of Nigeria's record hauls. It was in Egypt that Nigeria last won the bronze medal. Our Super Eagles head coach Eric Chile is reportedly a target for Tunisia as the Carthage Eagles search for a new coach to lead the national team ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Chile has emerged as one of the most sought-after coaches on the African continent, following Nigeria's impressive performances at the ongoing African Cup of Nations, where the Super Eagles reached the semi-finals. Reports indicate that Tunisian Football Federation is prepared to offer Chile a monthly salary of $100,000 to take charge of the Carthage Eagles ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup campaign. I am Tahila Debiobole. Thanks for watching.